On Friday night, my partner Eric and I were sitting outside enjoying a nice September evening when the news of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing came in the form of a news alert on my phone. For the next couple of hours, Eric and I found ourselves scrolling, reading, and lamenting as we sat taking in this hard-hitting news. It was during this time that I came across words that spoke to my soul. They were by author, speaker, and producer Austin Channing Brown. Last night, she tweeted, "I need to apologize in advance. I really want to pause and give Ruth Bader Ginsburg her flowers. She deserves so much praise and celebration. But right now, I'm overwhelmed by the prospect of what comes next. I'm so concerned about women's rights, civil rights for people of color, LGBTQIA+ rights. I'm worried." These words were a balm for my soul. Her voice spoke directly to how I was feeling in that moment. I wanted to grieve. I wanted to give thanks for Ruth Bader Ginsburg's life and honor her work and her legacy. However, the gripping anxiety, the worry, and fear clutched my chest, and it wouldn't let go. Questions about what will come next, worry about the future, concerns for our country, our community, and my loved ones pulsed in my mind. Austin's words met me in a place of worry, stood squarely in the midst of them, and spoke truth about what so many of us are experiencing. Austin spoke truth about the worry and the fear, truth about feeling overwhelmed and unsure about what lies ahead, and deep truth about the pain and complicated grief that so many folks are experiencing right now. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is among one of many people who have passed away this year, who have worked diligently and courageously for the rights, dignity, and humanity of so many. These are people like Elijah Cummings, Emma Sanders, Reverend C.T. Vivian, and John Lewis. And as each of these souls passes on and we grieve their death and celebrate their lives, there is this sting and this worry about who will pick up the mantle. How will this legacy continue? How will we breathe in this world? Questions about who and what is going to happen next bubble up. And the truth is, this feels like another tumultuous moment in an already contentious and anxious time. With how much that has been happening, it's not a surprise that so many of us are feeling a deep tenderness and weariness, and that we keep wondering, what's gonna happen next? As I looked at our text for this week, I found myself thinking that maybe Abram was asking some of these same questions and having some of these same thoughts too. Our scripture reading this morning meets us in the middle of the story of Abram and Sarai. It comes at a point where they have just been blessed by King Melchizedek, and they are continuing to wonder in stages on their journey. Abram and Sarai are only 3 chapters in to this 15-chapter story, and it has already been long and exhausting. They have come into Egypt and they have escaped Egypt. They have left their home. Sarai and Abram had been separated and then reunited, and Abram's nephew Lot, who was traveling with them, had to be rescued. And there was also a battle. And all the while, they are clinging to this blessing that God gives them back in chapter 12. For us to understand our reading today, it is important for us to go back to this original blessing. At the beginning of Abram's journey, God says, Abram, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you and curse the ones who curse you. And in all the families of the earth, in you they shall be blessed. This is the blessing God gives Abram as he commands him and Sarai out into the wilderness. And now, here they are. After much time has passed. And where is any fruit of this blessing? I wonder if Abram was recounting all that they had survived. In this moment of the story where we read today, maybe Abram was going through these long years in the wilderness and thinking about, after all of his faithfulness to God, who has really been blessed? And where are these descendants that will make him a great nation? Abram's tired, and he's growing older, and he has witnessed so much upheaval and uncertainty. And rulers too, right? And change. And all of these things are bringing up concern for him about what's going to happen next. Who will be my heir, God? God, what happened to your blessing? God, what's going to happen next? What will happen next? This is a question that anxiety and worry and fear has provoked in us for as long as humans have been around. The truth is, as unprecedented as these times feel, humanity has experienced times like these throughout our history. This story that we read today was told and passed down through generations of people who are living in exile. The story was shared as people were forced from their homes and communities and out into the wilderness, where they often face years, if not generations, of so many unknowns and hardships that probably included pain and violence and illness and loneliness, just like many of us. And in the midst of this time, he told this story of Abram and his family's faithfulness to God, which included these moments where God has to remind Abram of the promises and the blessings that God has made. The story was a comfort, a way for them to make sense of what was happening around them. It was a reminder that someone, but Abram, has been here before, just like them, just like us. 2 weeks ago, our Golden Eagles program celebrated the start of the school year. We gathered on Zoom and watched a YouTube video called Kid Superintendent. In this video, a 6-year-old boy gives a pep talk to all students, teachers, and parents for the beginning of the school year. The video is filled with shouts of encouragement and reminders of how strong and good people are. I picked this video for our gathering because I hoped it would uplift our students and help them feel a bit more excited about this really weird school year. However, when I asked them what they were going to remember from this video, each one of them told me that they are going to remember how this kid listed off all of the hard and bad stuff that has happened this year. From murder hornets to the pandemic to summer camp being canceled. For these teenagers, this is the first time that they really heard someone else say what they were experiencing and feeling. And it was powerful for them. As we signed off this call, I recalled a paraphrase of Genesis 12, that blessing that I read earlier. You are blessed to be a blessing. Essentially, this is what God was telling Abram as he was sending him out into the unknown. You are blessed to be a blessing. And this is what God was referring to today. When he was in our story today, when God was asking Abram to count the stars. And so upon reflecting on this, I kept thinking about how this video was such a blessing in ways that I couldn't even comprehend, because it met our students where they were, and it helped them understand what they were feeling, what they were experiencing. When we think about blessings, we often think about God's generosity or God's benevolence or even prosperity. Things like God giving Abram so many descendants that they would outnumber the stars, or a blessing to become a ruler, or even to be known as incredibly righteous. However, poet, author, artist, and minister Jan Richardson offers a different understanding of what blessing can mean. In her book, The Cure for Sorrow, a book of blessings for a time of grief, Jan writes, I have come to see with greater and greater clarity that a blessing is at its most potent in times of disaster, devastation, and loss. When God's providence seems most difficult to find, a blessing helps us perceive the grace that threads through our lives. A blessing does not explain away our loss or justify our devastation. It does not make light of grief or provide a simple fix for the rending. It does not compel us to move on. Instead, a blessing meets us in a place where our deepest loss is. In that place, it offers us a glimpse of wholeness and claims that wholeness here and now. A blessing helps us to keep breathing, to abide this moment and the next moment and the one after that. Friends, a blessing names our reality, and it points us to hope, even when we can't claim or see that hope for ourselves. This is just like when God asked Abram to count the stars. A blessing meets us in our desperation, our loneliness, our deepest grief, and it holds our hearts and glimpses what we might not be able to in that moment. A blessing is just like this kid superintendent who named all these hard things that we have made it through this year, and points us to the hope that we can still try our best and do this school thing together, even if we can't believe it ourselves yet. A blessing is like God reckoning with us when we are scared and unsure about what will happen next. And God does so by inviting us to look up to the heavens and count the multitude of stars, reminding us that not even the cosmos is beyond God's reach. A blessing is like a family story, passed down for generations, told again and again as a reminder that there are ones who have come before us, wrestling with the same questions and feelings that we are too. And a blessing is like a tweet that speaks to your soul. It finds the words we cannot and reminds us that we are not alone in the ache we feel in our bones. A blessing is like remembering someone's life. A life like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, John Lewis, Reverend C.T. Vivian, Emma Sanders, and Elijah Cummings. In Jewish tradition, rather than saying rest in peace, people typically say, may your life be a blessing. So may these folks who have worked hard, may their lives be a blessing to us. May their memory and their work be comfort. And may their work remind us and propel us to take a step forward and lean more fully into the hope that they were proclaiming and the truth that they were sharing with us. You are blessed to be a blessing. A blessing meets you where you feel most tender, and it helps you breathe in the moment and helps you get to the next moment and then to the next. Blessings are a living, breathing reminder of God's love for you and for this world. And it's a reminder that this holy work God is doing is far from done. So in this uncertain time, filled with questions and anxiety about what is next, let us ground ourselves with the blessings, with places and people and truths that remind us that we are not alone, that there is hope. And yes, there is still work to be done. And there are many unknowns and what next questions that are going to be asked. So in the midst of it all, may we remember and find our grounding from the blessings in our life, today and every day. Thanks be to God.